Welcome back to Ancient Signals, that flickering, liminal space between what we know and what we aren't supposed to. The cold truth of the matter is that sometimes the most profound revelations happen when you're running for your life. That's exactly where Aris Thorne and Ben found themselves, scrambling into a beat-up pickup truck in the dead of night, the sound of those heavy, measured footsteps, Control's footsteps, still ringing in their ears. They didn't even stop to grab the final hard drive. They had the coordinates, the intelligent star map revealed by the WOW signal echo, but they had to leave their entire operation behind. Aris, looking over his shoulder as the observatory lights disappeared in the rearview mirror, knew he was now a man without a base, relying on burner phones and the hospitality of old ghosts. But even running full throttle down a back road, the universe is still talking.
Wait, what happened?
The next clue wasn't hidden in old digitized tapes, but in the phenomenon as modern as it is baffling. Fast radio bursts, FRBs. Think of FRBs as being like cosmic speed-of-light blips, intensely powerful, millisecond-long radio flashes that generate as much energy as the sun does in a day. But they originate billions of light years away. For years, these were one-off events, dismissed as catastrophic, singular explosions, like a star collapsing. But then came the repeating ones, like FRB 121102 and FRB 180916, announcing themselves not with a single shout, but with a rhythmic, predictable, and distinctly scheduled beat. That's the part that terrifies the establishment. Repetition implies an engine, a mechanism, a clock, or maybe a speaker waiting for a reply. Aris drove until dawn, then pulled into a secluded, anonymous motel parking lot, the kind of place where surveillance is mostly worried about broken vending machines. He and Ben immediately cracked open their stolen laptop, the one piece of hardware with the necessary encryption keys. They had to pivot, and fast. The coordinates they found in the WOW signal echo were pointing to the globular cluster M13, but there had to be a way to connect that ancient message to a modern, ongoing signal they could track. Aris's gut, the same one that got him fired, told him the answer lay in the silence. He started digging into the public data logs for repeating FRBs. While the bursts themselves were heavily analyzed, no one seemed to be paying attention to the silence in between. Mainstream astrophysics views the space between the flashes as noise, random background radiation. But Aris remembered the quirky tidbit he once encountered about ancient Mayan mathematicians who used the concept of zero not just as a placeholder, but as a crucial, rhythmic component in their calendrical system, a deliberate gap that gave meaning to the cycle. He realized the silence between the FRBs might be doing the same. It wasn't static, it was a rest note. Ben, meanwhile, was tracking their tail. He picked up traces of sophisticated algorithmic scanning, targeting their old burner phone numbers. A clear sign, Control was using automated sweeps. They aren't even using people, Aris, Ben muttered, his eyes wide. It's an automated purge. We're dealing with an algorithm designed to maintain the silence. This confirmed Aris's suspicion that their enemy wasn't a general or a spy chief, but a systemic function designed to delete the inconvenient. Aris pulled up the most famous repeating FRB. A mainstream historical fact is that the first repeating FRB, 121102, was traced to a low metallicity dwarf galaxy 3 billion light-years away, a stunning confirmation of their extragalactic origin. He then focused on the latest bursts, noting the precise timing of their periodicity. He knew that historians still argue whether the repetition observed is truly artificial or merely the natural rotation of a magnetar on an eccentric orbit. But Aris saw something different. He saw rhythm. He saw a sequence of intervals. The space between burst 1 and 2, then 2 and 3, and so on. He ran a prime number filter on the sequence of milliseconds. The results were immediate and chilling. The seemingly random gaps of silence were resolving into a pattern defined by prime numbers. It was the universal signature of intelligence, hiding in plain sight. The prime number sequence was the key, but it was incomplete. A series of fragments, like hearing only the nouns of a sentence. They needed more data points, more timing intervals, and they needed to run the analysis on a processing platform that couldn't be easily traced. Aris knew there was only one person capable of providing both the credibility and the computational power without immediately raising flags: Elena. He reached out to her using a single, Disposable text message with only 3 words. Prime. Echo. M13. Elena met him a day later, not at a cafe this time, but in a dusty, forgotten corner of a university library basement, a place full of old books and institutional indifference, the perfect camouflage. She was pale, but her skepticism had been replaced by a grim determination. She didn't ask about the footsteps from the night before. The fear in his voice on the phone had been sufficient. She simply laid out her own laptop, shielded and firewalled, and began integrating his raw prime number data with the full, officially suppressed timing logs she could access. As Elena worked, Aris explained his theory. The original, "Wow" signal was the first message. A simple, "Are you there?" That pointed to M13. The repeating FRBs, now showing a prime number pattern in their intervals, were the ongoing conversation. But the conversation was being filtered. Or maybe it was simply being transmitted in a form no one in the astronomical community was wired to recognize. The repeating signal wasn't the sound. The silence was the word. Ben monitored the digital perimeter, watching Control's automated sweeps get closer. He noted a peculiar thing. The algorithmic attacks weren't trying to hack their data. They were trying to corrupt it, injecting small, statistically insignificant errors into the public data sets they were referencing. It was a digital form of censorship, making the truth look like a typo.
Listen to me.
Working on Elena's high-powered university server, the prime number sequence began to extend. The pattern grew longer and more complex, resolving into a mathematical statement that spoke to fundamental constants of the universe, things like the mass of the electron and the speed of light. It was an unmistakable, encyclopedic transmission designed to establish common ground with a nascent intelligence. The sheer volume of data they were now using caused Elena's university terminal to spin up, the fans whirring loudly in the sterile quiet of the basement. Aris felt a surge of elation, the kind he hadn't felt since he first earned his doctorate. The signal was a complete intelligent transmission. It was a clear, unambiguous attempt at communication. But the joy was cut short by Ben, whose head snapped up from the surveillance laptop. "They got us, Aris. They didn't hack the laptop. They hacked the building's IP logs. They know this location." The 3 of them locked eyes, the glow of the screen illuminating the stark reality of their situation. Outside, a soft electronic chime indicated that the heavy basement door had been deactivated. A silent, professional override. No crashing thud this time. They had minutes, maybe seconds, before Control agents secured the location. Elena, with an unnerving calm, slammed her hand down on the power button of her laptop, killing the connection and the analysis immediately. She looked at Aris, her eyes blazing with newfound conviction. "The data is gone from the server, but I have the sequence. We need a new direction, Aris." A completely new narrative thread. She then remembered Aris's reference to M13 from the previous night, and she connected the dots herself. If they communicated using the ancient signal, and they are communicating now using this mathematical pattern, what about the fringe stories? The physical evidence? The weird tangents you always chase? The sound of footsteps, quicker, lighter than the first time, but far more certain, was echoing down the hall. They were out of time. They knew they had the truth, but they had to run again, sacrificing the present evidence for the future opportunity. Historians still argue whether the greatest advancements in discovery are made by methodical research or by instinct-driven leaps of faith. But Aris and Elena, side by side, chose the leap. They slipped out through a maintenance exit, leaving the university basement and the final sequence of the message to the silence. We find ourselves now adrift, caught between the cold, overwhelming logic of the universe and the warmer, more terrifying logic of human conspiracy. The repeating FRBs are no longer random. They are a mathematical language, a prime number code, carefully constructed in the silence between the bursts. But the silence is also being enforced here on Earth. Control isn't just listening. They're actively deleting the conversation, corrupting the records, making the truth appear like a simple mathematical anomaly. This is a story of 3 people who found the truth, only to discover that the world they live in is programmed to reject it. Take a moment to absorb that the most incredible truth, a deliberate, intelligent communication from another star system, is being obscured not by lack of signal, but by a deliberate act of digital vandalism. The knowledge is in your mind now, safe from the algorithms. The mathematical sequence is proof we are not alone. But proof is nothing without a voice.
My God.
Aris and Elena are on the move, hunted, but they have the sequence, and they have each other. The fight to reveal this ancient signal is just beginning, and they'll need to use every fringe theory, every tangential piece of disinformation they can find to survive. If you want to keep deciphering these ancient signals, be sure to like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell.